Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Warrior Academy podcast. This week's host, I have one of our instructors, Instructor Badr, on the show, and he is going to be talking to us about his background. He's going to be talking to us about his health and fitness lifestyle. He's going to be talking to us about many different things in regards to those areas and how that sort of improves our character development program and what he brings to those sorts of things as well. So you all know who I am, but you might not know who Instructor Badr is. So I'm going to hand over to Instructor Badr to introduce himself to all of our followers and members on the Warrior Academy podcast.
Awesome. First of all, thank you for having me be on the second podcast of the Warrior team. Like Instructor Aaron said, now that I am a newly appointed full-time instructor for the Warrior Academy. I've been doing martial arts since the age of 4 years old and just basically spiked my career up there. Started at a young age, but also me being a youngster, I've always been aggressive youngster. So it was always a factor of me being at fights like in krish, or we call it krish. What do we call it? What's it called over here?
Kindergarten,
kindergarten,
yeah, that sort of thing, yeah.
So from kindergarten, I was always the one being in fights, and my dad was like, "No, this needs to stop right here," and he pushed me in the deep end and said, "Okay, let's put you into martial arts." And I jumped into doing karate, went on from doing karate to becoming a international champion, a world champion, 2-time Commonwealth champion actually as well, which was my highest achievement, which I'm really proud of. And then also became a second dan instructor, a second dan black belt. And I think my journey on my martial arts career has been amazing. And then once I got injured, I had a rotator cuff syndrome, so shoulder always just dislocated at that times during competitions and so forth. And basically I just decided, okay, let's put a pause on my career, and then moved into a health and fitness career. Became a qualified sports scientist, went into sports massage, and basically just the career spiked from there, and then moved away from martial arts and moved into the personal training environment. Really enjoyed it, really had fun. Started my own online training business back home in South Africa. And yeah, that's basically a brief background of who I am, what I do. And then I found the Warrior Academy, or actually the Warrior Academy found me. And I was lucky enough to speak to you, Aaron. And I think that conversation just spiked from there, and ever since I started here, it's been so welcoming, and yeah, excited for the journey forward with the Warrior Academy team.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
So, as many of our members will already know, Badr is one of our instructors here as well, and we always look to see if our instructors can bring something new to what we have, right? Our team is wide and varied in terms of martial arts skills and experiences, ranging from, competition on the highest level to, literally working in town halls and village halls back in the UK. So everybody has something that they can bring. And this is what I think really defines the Warrior Academy is that we've got so many different people with so many different backgrounds that can bring something to what we do. I talk to my students quite a bit about the concept of Kaizen. Now being, a practitioner, a karateka, a practitioner of Japanese martial arts, you will understand what the concept of Kaizen is, which I think in the Western world can be a little bit difficult to grasp sometimes. And for those of you that don't know what Kaizen means, there's no literal translation, but the best that we have is constant improvement, no best, only better. And I think that sort of sums up our ethos on things. Character development is not something that you can complete. There's always a new challenge. There's always something difficult to do round the corner. There's always something that you can improve upon. You know, can you make that technique a little bit more difficult? Can you do a few more push-ups? Can you, can you remain calm under increasingly stressful situations? And we all have different ways of doing that. And I think that you come from a particularly, I'm not going to say unstable, but volatile environment.
Yes.
South Africa, wonderful place though it is.
Oh yes,
I have been there. I did have some incredible times when I was there. But it also is, a volatile place to live in. It's not a particularly safe place. And somebody like yourself will have had to have faced many, many stressful situations.
100%.
Of which you would have had to have drawn on your own personal experience, and martial arts training for that in one way or another. And, I think it's really great that we've got somebody like you that has that kind of experience to be able to impart that to what we do. So one of the things that you wanted to talk about today is how health and fitness plays an important role in our daily lives, as well as how that can impact a child's character development. So, 100%. Talk to us a little bit about what you mean by this.
So if I look at it, or if I had to put it into place, I would definitely say that to instill a health and fitness journey from the start of a child's career, I know for a fact, and it's been proven over many studies, that if children start from a young age and they start off with, whether it's martial arts, whether it's sports, whether it's anything health and fitness related, when they move towards their adult career, they start flourishing. Because everything that's been instilled, how can I say, at the foundation phase during the sports factor, they, number one, know what it is to win. They know what it is to lose, and that basically builds their character, and they have that experience from a young age. And then when they reach into their adult life and they know what it is to have a success in their career, and they know what it is to have a failure in a career, and they're able to link it back to the sport or back to whatever laid the foundation, and they can basically say, okay, I can learn from this experience, I can better it. Okay, I'm in a success phase now. What am I going to do it? Like you said, now with the Kaizen, you have to constantly improve yourself. And I feel that even though once a child reaches an adult phase and they become successful, they need to know what's next. They need to know, okay, I need to challenge myself to do something better, because if there's nothing challenging you, how are you going to better yourself? How are you going to improve yourself? And I feel like it starts from a young age. And for me personally, I feel like I'm in my element, because martial arts is what developed my character as a person. So while I was doing martial arts, like we have at the Warrior Academy as well, is our fitness element, our techniques and combinations, our self-defense, and all of this plays a role in the development of a child or a teenager or an adult's character development. And I feel like we're actually the lucky part of it, because we know what it is to be hurt. We know what it is to accidentally hurt someone. We know what it is to protect ourselves. And I feel if we constantly have this psyche that we build up with ourselves, and we constantly in a state of improving ourselves, I feel like nothing can beat our character development, because we know what it is to fail, we know what it is to succeed, and also we're keeping healthy and fit. And I feel like in today's time, with all the junk food traveling around, and like I get called into it myself as well. Sometimes the junk food is there, and just because it's easily accessible, I mean, let's have that burger and chips and fries and cool drink. But I feel like I'm able to do that because I'm always, especially with our instructors, we have our instructor training, and then we have our own professional development. Maybe we're doing gym outside of work hours as well. And I feel like I'm allowed to have that junk food now, because I'm training. I'm constantly in a state of improving myself, my physique, my psyche. And I feel like I can't spoil myself. But I do know that there are kids that unfortunately they don't have that extra push. So maybe these kids at home, they don't have any health and fitness journey that they've been started on, and now it came to a point where their health has been affected because they are not moving, because they are not being active and using their childhood to develop that foundation. And now the parents see that, oh, we need to do something because his health is at risk. He's maybe a bit too heavy. He can't do certain activities. They sit on one side in the class. They're not involving themselves because all the other kids are doing, whether it's sports or music or drama and arts, and then the one kid is left on the side. And now they're like, okay, we need to do something about this. But now it's already at the point where it's a struggle to learn. And it's not always easy. Where do I put my child in? Where do I put my child in soccer? But do we know what the coaches are doing? Do we know what this is doing? So I feel like I'm very lucky to be a part of this team because I want to help those kids. I want to help as many people as possible develop the character that I developed through martial arts. And I feel like I'm also very privileged to be able to use my martial arts skills to teach them it's more than martial arts. It's more than what you think it is. It's more than grading to your next belt. It's more of me developing this child's foundation phase. They skip the phase. They're now at this phase where they need to get fit. They need to be healthy. They need to know how to protect themselves in all situations. They need to know how to handle the pressure because like we had our gradings last week, the advanced grading for me was quite intense for them. But they kept calm. You've put them through their paces, and I feel like they did amazing. And I feel like they are also so privileged to be a part of this team where they can develop that martial arts, the martial arts background, and then also the development stage with us. And now we can send them out into the world and we can know that they will make a success. They will know how to protect themselves because we've been teaching them all these things. Like you said, you had a few who joined you from white belt, and now they're all up the way to our brand new black tags. And I think that is absolutely amazing. And I feel like that's why I feel that health and fitness should be a part of anyone and everyone's journey because it makes you feel good. It helps develop your character, and it teaches you a very important lesson, which for me is how to deal with success and how to deal with failure.
Yeah, I think that's a crucial thing, right? Is that children learn best through play.
Oh yeah.
There's been lots of research on this sort of particular topic where children are more able to grasp tricky concepts quicker by experimenting, by getting hands-on, by play. And if you utilize sports in a play environment and you utilize health and fitness in a play environment, then as they grow up, they associate both play and having fun with fitness. I remember many years ago when I first moved to Dubai, I was living with my sister and her husband. I'd just flown all the way over from New Zealand because that's where I was living at the time. And I didn't know anybody here. I didn't really want to hang out with my sister and her children all the time. And, I was just desperate to get outside, move around, find my own community and things like that. And, eventually I started playing football and I was going to the gym and things like that. And for me, that was just the regular stuff that I did. But my sister turned around to me, she said, you exercise an awful lot. I said, what do you mean? She was like, well, you're out playing football 3 times a week. When you're not out of football, you're going to the gym or you're going for a swim or something like that. And I was like, yeah, but that's just what I do.
Yeah.
And I think that from a very, very early age, if you instill the because it's fun for me.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to do stuff that's not fun. I mean, I think that's a general thing. Nobody wants to do stuff that's not fun, right?
True.
But there are things that you have to do that aren't fun, and you just go on and do them anyway.
Oh yeah.
Because especially if you've grown up with a health and fitness sort of background, you have to work hard.
Oh yeah.
Right? Nothing in the world of sports comes easy.
Yeah, that's true. 100%.
And this is one of the things that Seb says, right? Is that fitness is the only thing you can't cheat on.
Oh yes.
You can cheat on everything else. And our fitness aspect of the syllabus, there are many students that dislike it.
Oh yes.
There are many students, oh, I don't want to do fitness. Oh God, do we have to do fitness? Oh, I hate burpees, But the reason why I feel like that they say that is because it's difficult.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge for them. And every other aspect of their life, because perhaps they haven't grown up
Yes.
in the same way that we did, with health and fitness being a key aspect of their life. I started martial arts at the age of 4.
Okay.
I was running around. I was, when I was at school, I was doing sport every single day of the week. I was practicing taekwondo 4 times a week. We'd play matches on a Saturday and a Sunday. Midweek matches. Like I was always doing sport, always fitness. Things like that, because it was fun, because it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I think that many children today, potentially, especially here, just don't have that same sort of focus that we have, right? I don't know if it's because the environment that they live in is not necessarily conducive to being outside all the time and things like that, but that doesn't stop you from doing sports, right? You can still have fun and things like that. So for me, it was always fun. It was always a really, really good time to do those things. But you have to work hard at it.
Oh yes.
Because if you don't work hard at it, it doesn't become fun. And there's an immense sense of pride and achievement that I see from my students when they're able to complete a really tough fitness challenge. And I think that from the character development side of things, the fitness is one of the most powerful and quickest and effective ways of building that character, right? Because again, you can't cheat.
That's true.
You simply cannot cheat fitness. And sometimes we say, hey, look, the only person you're cheating is yourself. They don't care about that. They don't care that they're cheating themselves. They care about the fact that they cannot cheat the fitness.
Oh yes.
But what that shows for them then is that if they are pushed to do it, and they then do achieve it, it has a more profound effect on their attitude towards things. Even if they quit after they get their black belt and they never do fitness again, at least they know the mentality that it takes to do that.
Definitely.
And so I think that health and fitness is part of, I think a lot of the times we say to children, to young people, you must be fit and healthy. You have to do this. You have to do this. And there's no explanation as to why.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to have heart disease. What does heart disease mean to a 4-year-old? Like, they don't care.
Exactly.
Right? Even as they get a little bit older, oh, you need to be fit and healthy. Why? Why do they need to be fit and healthy? And there's no sort of justification for it. And so I think a lot of what we do is we sort of justify through that character development aspect of things, that okay, it's great that you could do a bunch of push-ups, but once you get to a certain amount of push-ups, like, that doesn't really have that much impact in your health and fitness. But what it does have an impact in is your mindset for stuff.
Yes.
When things get difficult, are you able to push through it? Are you able to develop that attitude of, okay, things are really tough right now, but I'm gonna keep pushing. So that is the attitude that we try and instill with our fitness.
Oh yes.
Anyway, with our fitness, there are other things that we try and instill. From your experience of things, I don't know if you've worked with younger people in your personal training side of things as well. But what would you say the biggest challenges that you've seen from for people with their fitness and the character development? So many people would come to you as a personal trainer.
Yes.
I want to lose weight, right? For many different reasons, right? But what would you say the biggest challenges that they've had? Let's start with the adults, right? Because the children are slightly different. They've got minds that are easier to mold. What would you say the biggest challenge that you had for the character development side of people from your personal training experience?
So I would definitely say that when adults come to me and they set their goals, they're like, oh, I want to, like you said, I want to lose weight. They don't realize that how long did it take you to pick up this weight, number one. And number two, you telling me you want to lose 10 kgs in 2 months. That they want, when they set the goal, they want that goal immediately. They want it now. And I feel like that's one of the biggest challenges. I had to change their mindset that it took years for you to pick up this weight, number one. It took a certain amount of time for you to stop a certain activity, and maybe after 5 years you now decided, okay, I want to make a change now. So the results part of the goals are unrealistic. And I feel like that was my main challenge. Whenever I sat down with a client and they're brand new and they give me the goals, they always wanted the results now, immediately. I have a wedding in 3 months' time. I want to lose 20 kgs. What? And like for me, like I'll tell them, look, I'm no medical worker. I am no magic whatever. I'm able to do what I'm able to do with you as much as how hard you can work. So the more effort you put in, we can achieve a specific goal. But 20 kgs in 3 months, that's unrealistic. I would be completely and brutally honest with them and tell them, look, you can't achieve this. Like, even if you took substances to achieve this, it's not a healthy way of doing it. Number one. And number two, you have to set yourself realistic goals. And I feel like some of them slowly but surely learn that, okay, I actually can't lose that much weight in this particular time. And I have to change the mindset of, you can't achieve this now. And I feel like as most of my adult clients, they have that mindset. They always speak to me, they tell me, oh, I want to have this money by this time, I want to have this by this time. But they don't realize the work or the effort that you need to put in to achieve that. Is it really realistic to yourself? Are you able to do that in that particular time period? Yes, okay, maybe if you push extremely hard, you can achieve something closer to that. But I feel like the goal setting as adults, for when I had personal training clients and at an adult level, their goals were unrealistic, and the time frame that they want to achieve it in is also unrealistic. And I actually had to change their mindset to tell them, look, we need to put in measures to get close to that goal, but I can tell you now that most probably we're not going to reach that goal. It's a bit unrealistic. And then with kids, when I had parents come to me and tell me, look, I want my kid to become more active, want him to lose weight, I want him to do this, do that. They always tell me what they want for the kid. But once I get involved and I start training the kid, I start asking them, what do you want to achieve? My friends at school, they're able to do so many things. They're able to run this far, and I've never been active. I've never trained before, and I just want to keep up with them. And I feel like if I break it down, it shows that he's a bit shy, number one. He's a bit insecure, and I feel like his character development hasn't started yet. So for me, when I started training kids, I first had to see at what phase are they in their life. Like, are you active? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And most of the time, they haven't been active at all. So I had to start them off with a particular sport. And which I did was boxing, because lots of the kids, they just want to punch. They just want to punch something. And I started doing some boxing with them, and they started to enjoy that. And then they started realizing that, oh, I can do more sports now. Their cardiovascular fitness is much better. They're able to do boxing for many more rounds. We started with 1 minute at a particular time, and they progressed to now doing 3-minute rounds. And they feel, oh, I'm so much more fitter now. They can keep up with their peers at school now, and they're able to jump into sports now. They want to do sports. And I feel like, again, if we don't instill something in kids from the youngest age possible, I feel like once they hit that bracket of, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't want to do sports, no, it's not for me. But I feel like it should be for everyone. Even maybe if sports not for you, but you want to do drama, it's still a form of being active, about being comfortable in every particular environment and so forth. And especially for back home, the kids are generally just given, here's your iPhone, here's your iPad, 6 years old. And with everything happening back home, like with our crime rate being high, they should be able to protect themselves. They should be able to look after themselves, because most of the time the parents are away, they're alone at home. Things can happen. They should be able to know what to do, not only just be on their phone. Mom, dad, they should be able to be independent, learn things by themselves as well. And I feel like that's where character development also comes into play. And that's the challenge that I had with adults, and that's the challenge that I had with kids. So yeah,
I think that's a really, you've touched on a couple of points here that I want to dive into, and the first one is goal setting.
Oh yes,
I spoke about sports being fun and things like that, learning through play, and that's incredibly important. But I think that playing for play's sake,
yes,
doesn't then instill those healthy habits, that mindset conditioning that health and fitness is, because for them, I only do it when it's fun.
Yeah.
Right? And there does come a point where the fun reduces slightly, and the uncomfortable rises a bit, right? As you know, we're constantly trying to challenge our students and push them outside of their comfort zones. And growth is uncomfortable.
Oh yes.
That's just the nature of what happens. But in order for you to progress, you do need to become uncomfortable with your current situation, right? Subsequently, that's why they're called growing pains, right? It literally hurts to grow. It literally hurts. Your bones are growing. You become hungry all the time because you need more fuel, more energy, right?
Yes.
So, and I think it was really interesting that the goals that the parents set were vastly different to what the children or the younger people that you worked with. Yes. When you were working with those people, did the parents have were the parents also clients of yours as well?
Most of the time, yes.
Okay, so these are parents that hadn't had healthy habits instilled when they were younger,
yes.
had no idea of what it meant to set realistic goals for themselves and their healthy habits, and therefore had no idea
what to do
for their children, right? So I think that's quite an important aspect of things as well, is understanding what realistic goals are. And that's of course what we do with all of our students, right? They have their character development workbooks, we set them targets, we set them goals, and sometimes I've had parents, and I've looked at the character development workbook, and the goals for their 5 or 6 year old child have seemed relatively unreasonable. And I've said, do we feel like that these are easily achievable targets for them? And they said, no, they seem to be struggling a little bit with this. I said, okay, well perhaps it's time that we adjust those a little bit, right? Make it a little bit easier for them to achieve these goals.
Yeah.
Because and I think that is something that sports and activities and health and healthy habits allow us to sort of manage, right? It's unreasonable for us to say, I'm going to run a marathon with zero training, right? But it is reasonable for us to say, next year with regular and consistent training
yes.
and putting goals in place, I would like to be able to run and complete a marathon.
Perfect.
Now, I know for a fact that you don't actually need to do any training for a marathon at all. You need to be relatively fit and healthy and have a decent mindset that you will continue to do it.
That's it right there.
But it's the same thing though, right? You need to have been consistently healthy. You can't have not done any exercise at all for an entire year and they're like, right, now it's time for me to go and run a marathon. Like, you might have the mindset, but you don't have the consistency with that as well. And I think that there's a lot of, I know that there's a lot of science that goes behind all of these sorts of things as well. You know, the food that we eat, and something that's really, really interesting that I think that is really under discussed, and that is the amount of food that people eat in one sitting and throughout the day. I read this book Ikigai a little while ago.
Okay.
It's a really great book, and it's about, you know, finding your purpose in life, and you know, they studied blue zones and things like that, and that's a whole incredible topic as well. Is blue zones, you know, where people end up living longer than usual lives and spending more of their lives in a better condition, right? So there's this place in Okinawa in Japan, and that's the highest blue zone rate. So they like most of the people that live in that village are over 100 years old and still active, playing games, tending their gardens and things like that, right? And they have, I can't remember what it is, but it's something like harahichi hibu.
Okay.
Which basically means eat until 80% full.
Okay, yes.
Leave some food on the plate, right?
100%.
But in the West, we're told you must eat everything on your plate. You have to eat everything on your plate.
So true.
Which was fine, you know, 200 years ago when there wasn't a lot of food on that plate, and if you didn't eat all of it, the likelihood was that you were going to be undernourished. And so it's no, you have to eat everything on your plate, okay, because there's not much of it.
Exactly.
But now we have this abundance of food, an abundance of nutrition. And what I mean by that is that our food is, you know, jam-packed with stuff.
Oh yes.
Not necessarily additives, but things like that. You know, we've got very rich diets these days.
100%.
People might feel like that they're eating a regular size plate of food, but with everything that's in it, you know, salt, pepper, other flavorings, spices, you know, all these sorts of things. And it's very, very rich. And so we might feel like that we're eating a regular size thing, but actually we're not, and we've gotten used to that. And so a lot of people overeat.
Oh yes.
And they will eat, you know, 3 meals a day plus snacks throughout the course of the day, and then they wonder why they have struggled to maintain a certain weight, or they find themselves sluggish, or things like that. And so you know, going back to these, you know, these people in the blue zones, it's typically hilly areas with not great road access. They eat an abundance of vegetables, and they are active for most of the day, right? This is something that that is just their lifestyle. That's just the way that they are. And so they've built up this ability to be active well into their hundreds, you know, you know, 80, 90, 100 plus year old people who regularly walk around, who regularly eat a large diet of vegetables, who regularly partake in activities and things like that. In fact, it's almost ritualistic that they are active. Everybody in that area has a garden. So what are they doing? Every morning they're getting up and they are tending their garden for two reasons. Number one, because the garden needs tending, and number two, if they don't, then they don't have any food. Right? Yeah. So there is an element of necessity out of this, right? And then they will go and walk to the local town centre where they will then socialise with their friends. But they walk. They don't ride a bike. Well, they do ride a bike. They don't drive. They don't take a bus or anything like that. It's difficult for them to get around. So they have to walk places. They have to be physically active. And that is just their mindset. They don't feel like that they're doing anything extraordinary.
Okay.
They're just doing the stuff that is natural to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts from day one, right?
100%.
You know, so
From the beginning.
We all recognize the importance of being fit and healthy, right? Because nobody wants to be unhealthy.
Okay.
Nobody wants to be difficult. And, you know, a number of people that I've spoken to over the years have made a conscious decision to change their lifestyle because they've had children. I need to be fitter and healthier because I want to be able to run around with my children, right? But that mentality needs to start from day one.
Yes.
You know, it's all about, this is just the way that we live our lives. We need to make sure, and you're right, there's nothing wrong with, there's no such thing as unhealthy food.
Yes, there you go.
Right? There's no such thing as unhealthy food. But like most things, too much of anything
It's not a good thing.
is not a good thing, right? You can eat a burger and chips whenever you like.
Oh yes.
That doesn't mean that you are unhealthy. Even I feel, you know, guilty sometimes about drinking a Coke.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, oh, look at all the sugar that's in this. Yeah, and I know that there's loads of sugar in it, and I know that there's loads of sugar in a lot of the other things. But you know what? I don't drink Coke all the time.
Exactly.
You know, I will have a Coke sometimes. That doesn't mean that it's unhealthy.
Exactly.
And I think that we need to be better at understanding what healthy means.
Oh yes.
You know, because people sort of go like this with it, right?
Yeah.
They spike and they go up and down, and they'll go on like a binge of, you know, super healthy stuff, and then they're like, oh, I've done loads of healthy stuff now. I'm going to do loads of unhealthy stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But in terms of instilling that in our children, in the people that we teach, that constant activity. It doesn't have to be much, but it has to be something.
Oh yes.
You know, sometimes it's going to challenge you. Sometimes it's not so much fun, but other times it is really fun.
Oh yes.
For my advanced class yesterday, during because the graduation class, they're typically slightly shorter classes because we have to graduate them.
Exactly.
We can't run a full class and then do the graduation. You know, so they're slightly shorter classes, and we like to have a bit of fun
Yes.
as well. So we did some crab football.
Oh nice.
You know, and what is that? Well, that is, it's funny. I like these sorts of things because it's really hard work. It's difficult, but
it's also
they're
fun.
having so much fun when they do it that it tricks them into thinking that it's a nice, fun game. You know, and these are teenagers that we're talking about here. And teenagers, as you know, are the most difficult people to motivate when it comes to fitness. You know, some people are just like, yeah, fitness, and then others are just like,
oh man,
I never want to do this ever. You know, like getting out of bed in the morning is just, you know, the struggle of all struggles, and never mind trying to do 50 push-ups. You know, but you know, getting them to reignite that passion for things, that sense of play.
Oh yes.
is so important, and we need to keep building that up as we go, right? And same with the food, with the diet, with you know, with all types of exercise. And a key thing is obviously to continue to set those goals at the same time,
100%.
right? Because we reach new levels. Yeah. Okay. So fantastic. You've been able to do 20 push-ups every day for a week. Let's see if we can push that to 25 push-ups every day this week, right? And setting those goals just becomes part of that thing. You know, when we give out belts, when we give out stripes for completion of tasks and exercise things, yes, it's a motivational aspect. But it's also a goal setting thing for them. It's a very clear distinction.
Yes.
Your target is this.
Yeah.
And if you can do these things, then you will receive this benchmark.
Oh yes.
Right?
100%.
Because the earning of a black belt, as you know, when you get a black belt, it becomes less and less about the black belt and more about the development of yourself.
That's so true.
is very difficult to see that as a non-black belt because you think that's what I want.
That you just see that you see the goal.
Yeah,
that's why.
That's it. You see the goal.
Yeah.
The discipline and hard work that it takes to get there is broken up with those micro goals. You know, you look at some of those students that I've had with me that are black tags now, that started with me as white belts.
Wow.
You know, and they look back at their journey and they probably thought when they were yellow belts or green belts, like, oh man, I'm never going to get there. Never going to get there. But with that consistency, with that, you know, hard work, goal setting.
Oh yes.
I can't begin to tell you how many calls I've had with their mum, how many times that I've gone through their character development workbooks, how many goals I've set them as individuals, how many tasks we've worked on collectively to achieve the things that we wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it was the realization yesterday when I said to them, one more grading.
Wow.
And they went, oh yeah, it is.
It is,
one more grading, right?
Exactly.
And all those gradings over the years. But without, you know, the foundation of fun and fitness and consistency and goal setting from that very, very early age, they wouldn't have made it.
Oh yeah.
There's no way they would have made it. And another example of this as well is even if they decide that they get to black belt and they quit the next day.
Yeah.
And we've both seen many people do that.
Oh yes.
Right. I remember very, very clearly there was one boy when I was training. He actually got his black belt a little bit before me.
Okay.
And he was a great student, really very talented, incredible. Yeah. Very, very good at what he did. Very well liked member of the community. He got his black belt and literally the next day quit on the spot.
My goodness.
Like got his black belt, trained that class, never came back. I had another friend when I was at school, Martin Hawkins, his name is. Hello, Martin, if you ever end up watching this. He had a black belt in karate as well, but he did the same thing. He earned his black belt and he quit the next day. And I said, why? And he was like, well, because I've got it now. And I was like, right, okay. But what I do know, my sister, she also has a first dan in Taekwondo as well.
Okay.
I think she continued on a little bit afterwards. Even though they don't practice anymore, they still have that mindset. They still apply. They can't help but do it. It's hardwired into them now.
Oh yes.
They still apply these principles. They're not unfit. They're not lazy. They do like to eat properly. They know what it takes to work hard. I think my friend Martin, he works in like plumbing.
Okay.
So again, he works with his hands. He works hard, right? He knows what it's like to have to figure out problems. He knows what it's like to have to do a good job, and you know, and things like that. You know, same with my sister. You know, she's a stickler for routine and goal setting and targets and plans and things like that. And you only get that when you have that hardwired into you from a very, very young age. So we've almost come to the end of the time now. It flies by, as it always does when we're speaking about these sorts of things. But what would you say are your top tips to parents to boost their child's character development through fitness and health?
So what I would say is definitely start them off at a young age. Definitely do it at a young age. But also, I feel like what was lacking for me particularly, and what I would ask parents to instill right now, is to try and set the example. Try and also do something related to fitness so that they can see, okay, mom and dad, they aren't just working. They're doing some extra activity as well. Because just like you as a child, you would go to school. Why do I need to do another activity? So if you show them, I can also do an activity, so you're going to do an activity as well. Let's do it together as a family. And I feel like that family aspect, if it's possible, I know, especially life in Dubai, the parents are always working. They're doing their utmost best for their kids. If by any chance that they can use their spare time to be active with their kids, I feel like that's an awesome one. So start them off as young as possible. Number 2, try and do it with them, or start an activity yourself so that they can see, oh, mom and dad is doing this. They're also being busy. And then I feel like what we just mentioned now, have fun with it. Tell them that it's, yes, okay, certain times it's serious, but most of the time we're going to have as much fun as possible. And then proper goal setting. Set a goal that is realistic, that you know you can achieve within a specific given time. And yeah, I think that's my top three tips that I would say.
Fantastic. And of course, we are opening up our Little Warriors.
Hey,
okay, see, nice little plug there, nice little plug. We're opening up our Little Warriors classes as well on Saturday and Sunday mornings and afternoons, and I think a couple of midweek days as well. And those are for our 2 to 3 year olds. So we're encouraging parents to come in with those ones as well. And we teach them healthy habits through play, martial arts style games, lots of fun, coordination, things like that. And of course, we've got our family classes.
Hey, yes, definitely.
So for those that are looking to try and set the example, as you said, it's a very, very powerful session. A lot of our parents that are members that train with their children in there, they're learning a bunch of new skills. They're setting the example for their children. They're being taught as equals, so they know what it's like to follow the example of discipline and respect and all these sorts of things. And obviously they're getting the benefit of the Warrior Academy syllabus as well.
Oh yes.
So if you are watching this and you're not a member and you are looking to get your child involved in any sort of fitness program or anything like that, come and try our family sessions or come and try our Little Warrior sessions. And obviously we have our regular classes of juniors, our seniors, our pre-teens, and our teens as well. We also have our adults classes. If you are looking to get involved in our adults classes, then you can certainly do that as well. You can also find all of our links on our social media, which will be, hopefully, with the magic of the internet, running along the bottom of the screen here. And of course, as members and your child is taught by Instructor Badr, please make sure that you are speaking to him regularly. Please make sure that you are booking in your catch-up calls and setting your goals, because he's got a wealth of information and insight that will rapidly help you to improve your child's confidence, conduct and concentration, and set them up for life. So thank you very much for joining us, or joining me today, joining us, everyone that's watching this. Keep doing what you're doing, and we look forward to having you back on the podcast somewhere else.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you. Awesome stuff.